Act as the best version of yourself. There is a version of you that already exists. Not in the future. Not after you lose the weight, get the promotion, fix the relationship, or finally feel ready. Right now, in this moment, there is a version of you that knows exactly how to handle what you are facing. That version speaks with clarity, moves with purpose, holds boundaries without guilt, loves without losing itself, works without needing to be forced, and shows up fully, consistently, and without apology for who it is. That version is not a fantasy. It is not some distant ideal that lives on the other side of perfect circumstances. It is the most natural expression of everything you actually are when fear, doubt, habit, and the weight of other people's expectations are no longer running the show. Today we are going to talk about how you close the gap between who you are being and who you are capable of being. Not through motivation that fades, not through discipline alone, but through a fundamental shift in identity that the Stoics understood with breathtaking precision and that modern psychology is only now beginning to fully confirm. This is the work, the real work, the work that changes everything. Let us start with the most important question you will ever ask yourself. Not what do I want to achieve, not what do I want to have, but who do I want to be? Because everything else, every achievement, every relationship, every experience you desire flows from the answer to that question. Get the identity right and the actions align naturally. Get the identity wrong and no amount of effort, strategy, or willpower will produce the life you are after for very long. The Stoics called this living according to your nature. But they did not mean your current habits or your conditioned patterns or the version of you that was shaped by circumstances and reactions and the survival strategies of your past. They meant your deepest nature. The rational, virtuous, capable, fully alive human being that exists beneath all of that. The one that emerges when you stop performing and start being. When you stop reacting and start choosing. When you stop living by default and start living by design. Marcus Aurelius returned to this idea again and again in his private journals. He was the most powerful man in the world. He had more authority, more resources, and more external validation than any human being of his era. And yet he wrote to himself every single morning about who he was trying to be. Not what he was trying to accomplish, who he was trying to be. Because he understood something that most people in positions of power never grasp. The outer life is always a reflection of the inner one. And the inner one requires constant, intentional cultivation. So what does it actually mean to act as the best version of yourself? Because this phrase gets used so often that it has almost lost its meaning. People hear it and nod and feel briefly inspired and then go back to the same patterns because nobody ever told them what it actually looks like in practice. What it feels like from the inside. What it costs. And what it gives back. Acting as the best version of yourself means making decisions from your highest values rather than your lowest fears. It means asking not what is the easiest thing I can do right now, but what is the right thing. The thing that the person I am trying to become would do without hesitation. It means treating that internal standard as non-negotiable. Not as an aspiration you pursue when conditions are favorable. As an identity you inhabit regardless of conditions. This is harder than it sounds. Because your current self has momentum. It has years of practice patterns, established neural pathways, deeply grooved habits of thought and behavior that activate automatically in every situation. Your current self knows how to respond to stress, to conflict, to temptation, to failure, to success, to boredom, to loneliness. It has a script for all of it. And that script runs whether you consciously choose it or not. The work of becoming your best self is the work of rewriting that script. Not through force. Not through self-punishment or shame or the relentless comparison of who you are to who you think you should be. But through something far more powerful and far more sustainable. Through the consistent, daily practice of choosing the best version of yourself in small moments until those small choices accumulate into a new identity that is no longer an effort to maintain but simply who you are. Epictetus taught his students that every situation in life presents you with a choice. Not just a choice about what to do. A choice about who to be in relation to what is happening. When someone provokes you, you have a choice about whether to be someone who is ruled by anger or someone who responds from wisdom. When an opportunity to take the easy road appears, You have a choice about whether to be someone who compromises their standards for convenience or someone who holds the line. When fear shows up, which it always does, you have a choice about whether to be someone who is defined by their fear or someone who acts despite it. Every one of those choices is a vote. A vote for the version of yourself you are becoming. And the version that gets the most votes wins. Not dramatically, not all at once, but quietly, steadily, and with absolute certainty over time. Now let us talk about the specific areas where acting as your best self makes the most profound difference. Because this is not abstract. This is your actual life we are talking about. The first area is how you treat yourself when no one is watching. The best version of you does not require an audience. It does not show up only when there is something to gain or someone to impress. It shows up in the private moments. The moments when you could easily cut corners and no one would know. The moments when you could break the promise you made to yourself because the only person holding you accountable is you. The moments when the choice between integrity and convenience is entirely invisible to the world around you. How you treat yourself in those moments is the truest measure of who you are. Not your public behavior. Not your social media presence. Not the version of yourself you perform for the people whose approval you value. The private self. The one that exists in the silence of your own honest reflection. The best version of you holds the standard in private because the standard is not for show. It is for you. It is the foundation of the self-respect that makes everything else possible. And self-respect that is built in private moments is the only kind that lasts. The second area is how you respond to difficulty. Difficulty is not an interruption to your life. It is a fundamental part of it. And the best version of you does not just tolerate difficulty. It uses it. It moves through it with the understanding that every challenge is developing something in you that could not be developed any other way. Every setback is building resilience. Every failure is providing information. Every loss is creating space for something that fits better. Marcus Aurelius faced losses that would have broken most people. He lost children. He governed during plagues and wars and political betrayals. He dealt with people who deceived him, challenged him, and undermined everything he was trying to build. And he met all of it with a quality that the Stoics prized above almost everything else. Equanimity. The ability to remain grounded, clear, and purposeful regardless of what external circumstances looked like. That equanimity was not natural. It was practiced. It was built through years of daily philosophical work, of consciously choosing his response to difficulty rather than simply reacting to it. And it can be built by you in exactly the same way. Not overnight, not without practice, but through the same daily commitment to choosing who you are in relation to what happens to you. The third area is how you show up in your relationships. The best version of you does not bring the worst of itself to the people it loves most. It does not save its impatience, its criticism, its emotional unavailability, and its unprocessed wounds for the people who are closest to it. It brings the same intentionality to its intimate relationships that it brings to everything else it takes seriously. This is one of the most common and most costly failures of otherwise high-performing people. They pour their best self into their work, their public presence, their goals and ambitions, and then come home and give whatever is left, which is often very little. And the people who matter most receive the depleted, unguarded, reactive version of someone who has spent all day being intentional everywhere else. The best version of you knows that relationships are not the reward you receive after you accomplish everything else. They are the context in which everything else finds meaning. They are where your character is most honestly revealed. And they deserve your presence, your patience, your genuine attention, and your willingness to be known as you actually are rather than the version you manage for the outside world. The fourth area is how you handle your own mind. The best version of you takes the management of its own thoughts seriously. It understands that the quality of your inner dialogue determines the quality of everything that flows from it. Every decision, every relationship, every action, every feeling about yourself and your life begins with a thought. And most people allow their thoughts to run completely unsupervised, like a television left on in an empty room, broadcasting whatever content happens to be available. The Stoics called the practice of managing your inner world the most important work a human being can do, because they understood that external circumstances can only affect you to the degree that you allow your mind to be affected by them. The person who masters their inner world is free in a way that no external condition can produce and no external condition can take away. This means developing the habit of examining your thoughts honestly. Not to judge them or suppress them, but to see them clearly. To ask whether they are serving you or sabotaging you. Whether they are based on evidence or assumption. Whether they are moving you toward the person you want to be or away from it. That practice of honest inner examination is the foundation of every other practice the Stoics recommended. And it is available to you in every single moment of every single day. The fifth area is how you use your time. The best version of you understands with complete clarity that time is the one resource that cannot be replenished. Every hour you spend is gone. Every day that passes without intention is a day that will not return. And yet most people treat their time as though it is infinite. As though there will always be a later, a tomorrow, a better moment to begin the thing that actually matters. Seneca wrote one of the most devastating observations in all of philosophy when he said that it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. He wrote that life is long enough and has been given in sufficiently generous measure to allow the accomplishment of the very greatest things if the whole of it is well invested. The problem is not the length of the life. It is the carelessness with which it is spent. The best version of you does not spend its time carelessly. It does not give the first and best hours of its day to things that do not matter. It does not allow the urgency of the unimportant to crowd out the importance of what is essential. It makes deliberate choices about where its attention goes because it understands that where attention goes, life follows. And a life followed by intentional attention is a life that amounts to something. The sixth area is how you pursue your purpose. The best version of you is not waiting for permission to pursue what it is here to do. It is not waiting for perfect conditions, complete certainty, the right amount of money, the right amount of time, or the approval of people who are not living your life. It moves. Imperfectly. Incompletely. With fear present and action happening anyway. Because it understands that purpose is not discovered through contemplation alone. It is discovered through engagement. Through trying things, failing at things, learning from things, and gradually narrowing in on the contribution that only you can make. Every person has something they are here to contribute. Something that sits at the intersection of what they are genuinely good at, what they deeply care about, and what the world around them needs. Finding that intersection and pouring yourself into it is not a luxury reserved for the specially gifted or the fortunately circumstanced. It is the birthright of every human being willing to do the work of self-discovery and the work of showing up consistently for what they find. The best version of you is already moving in that direction. Every day. Not perfectly. Not without doubt. But moving. Because movement is the only thing that produces the clarity that standing still never will. Now let us talk about the gap. Because for most people, the distance between who they are being and who they are capable of being is not a mystery. They know the gap exists. They can feel it. They have felt it for years. The question is not whether the gap is real. The question is why it persists despite the knowing. And the answer, the honest answer that most people are not ready to hear, is this. The gap persists because the current version of you is getting something from staying where it is. Not consciously, not deliberately, but unconsciously. The patterns that keep you from your best self are serving some function. They are protecting you from something. From failure. From judgment. From the vulnerability of actually trying and being seen trying. From the responsibility that comes with becoming someone who can no longer claim that their circumstances are the reason they have not arrived. The moment you become your best self, there are no more excuses. No more comfortable stories about why it has not happened yet. No more distance between who you are and who you could be to hide in. And for many people, that prospect is more frightening than the gap itself. But here is what the Stoics knew and what I want you to carry with you from this moment forward. The discomfort of becoming is always temporary. The regret of not becoming lasts forever. The fear of stepping into your best self will fade the moment you take the first step. The pain of looking back at a life lived below your potential will never fade. It will only grow with every passing year that you chose safety over expansion. You know who you are capable of being. You have always known. The clearest evidence of that is the discomfort you feel when you are being anything less. That discomfort is not a punishment. It is a compass. It is the best version of you refusing to let the current version settle. Refusing to let the story end here. Refusing to allow comfort to become the ceiling of a life that was built for so much more. Act as that version. Today. In the next conversation. In the next decision. In the next moment where the easier choice and the right choice are standing side by side and you have to decide which one you are loyal to. Not because you have arrived, but because arriving is not the point. The point is the daily practice of choosing, in small and large moments alike, to be the person you were built to be. That practice is the most extraordinary thing you will ever do. And it begins right now. If this reached something real in you today, if it gave you a clearer picture of who you are capable of being and a genuine desire to close the gap, subscribe to this channel right now. Every video we create is built on this same foundation. Ancient wisdom delivered with modern clarity, designed to challenge you, elevate you, and give you the tools to actually become the person you know you are meant to be. Not through shortcuts, through truth. Subscribe, share this with someone who is ready to stop settling, and we will see you in the next one. Your best self is not waiting for you to be ready. It is waiting for you to begin.